Some women changed the world. Others changed it too, and no one even remembers their names. Some women changed the world. Others did too, but history forgot to say so. Her name was Shushandukht. She planted Jewish communities that still stand today, and she died without a single contemporary source writing her name. This is the obituary she never received, the story nobody bothered to tell, Shushandukht. In the 5th century CE, she became the Jewish queen of the Sasanian Persian Empire, the mightiest state between Rome and China. She married a king of kings. She founded a neighborhood that would survive 1,500 years. And she died without a single contemporary source writing her name. This is the obituary she never received. The 5th century was a world balanced on a knife's edge. Rome was fracturing. Christianity was hardening into state religion. And the Jewish people, scattered across continents since the destruction of the Second Temple, were navigating survival in empires that ranged from tolerant to murderous. Inside the Sasanian Empire, however, something remarkable had taken root. In Babylon, modern-day Iraq, Jewish exiles had built their own world inside someone else's. They called it the Exilarchate, a self-governing community led by the Exilarch, a prince of the House of David who served as the official Jewish voice before the Persian throne. It had courts, academies, nobility. It was not a ghetto, it was a civilization. And it was from this world that Shushandukht came. James Darmestater, the French Jewish Orientalist who rediscovered her story in 1886, believed she was the Exilarch's own daughter, not a slave elevated by luck, a princess, given in alliance to the King of Kings. Not every Persian king would have married a Jewish woman. Almost none did. The Sasanian Empire ran on Zoroastrian fire. Its priests, the Magi, were powerful, conservative, and deeply suspicious of outsiders. Under several Sasanian rulers, Jewish festivals were suppressed and communities taxed into poverty. Yazdegerd I was different. History gave him the nickname, the Sinner. Not because he was cruel, but because the priests despised him. He refused to persecute Jews. He practiced a tolerance that infuriated the religious establishment and earned him posthumous condemnation in the chronicles they controlled. He practiced a tolerance that infuriated the religious establishment and earned him posthumous condemnation in the chronicles they controlled. Yazdegerd didn't marry Shushandukht by accident. He married her on purpose, and the purpose was the message. She was a Jewish woman, the daughter of the Exilarch, the leader of the Jewish diaspora in Persia, and Yazdegerd brought her to the Persian throne. Not to the corridor outside it, not to an anteroom, not to a seat of courtesy at the far end of a long hall, to the throne itself. As queen, this was not sentiment, this was a declaration, and it was directed at everyone who had decided, long before Yazdegerd made this choice, that some people belong at the center of power and others do not. The declaration said, "The people you have pushed to the margins, I have placed them next to me. The people you have looked past, looked through, looked down on, they are no longer at the edge of the room. They are not at the foot of the table. They are beside me, at the same elevation, with the same proximity to power." Here is what the medieval Persian text, the provincial capitals of Erinshahar, tells us about what Shushandukht actually did with her power. She did not accumulate palaces. She built sanctuaries. She founded the Jewish quarter of Isfahan. Its name was Joybare. Not a refugee encampment, a planned community. Synagogues built. Families settled. A Jewish cultural life rooted in Persian earth, 1,500 miles from Jerusalem. That neighborhood survived in some form for over 15 centuries. And she did not stop there. She established Jewish colonies in Susa, the ancient city already thick with biblical memory, the city of Esther and Mordecai. She built another in Shushtar, far to the south. In the city of Hamadan, western Iran, stands an ancient tomb, one of the most sacred Jewish pilgrimage sites in the world. For centuries, the faithful have come here to honor Esther, the Jewish queen of Persia, and her cousin Mordecai, whose story lives in the Hebrew Bible. But some historians have begun asking a quiet, unsettling question. What if this tomb isn't really hers? The biblical Esther would have lived nearly 1,000 years before this site was built, so who might truly be remembered here? There was another Jewish woman, real, historical, and far closer in time. Her name was Shushandukht. She married a Persian king. She was Jewish, and she fought to protect her people. The parallels with Esther's story are striking, almost too striking to be coincidence. Over centuries, it seems, her real history slowly merged with an ancient legend. Two women, two remarkably similar lives, until one quietly vanished into the other. Shushandukht wasn't erased by force. She was dissolved, swallowed by a story so close to her own that her name simply disappeared. She was not simply forgotten. She may have been dissolved. In 1886, Darmesteter was working through a collection of medieval Persian manuscripts. He was not looking for Shushandukht. He did not know she existed. And then, there she was, a single text, the provincial capitals of Eranshar, a geographical document. And inside it, almost incidentally, the story of a Jewish queen who built cities and changed the shape of the Persian Jewish world. Darmesteter published his findings. Scholars took notice. Then the world moved on. No popular history picked up the story. No novelist wrote her life. In the world of ancient history, if the stone does not speak, the woman did not exist. Some scholars argue Shushandukht may not have existed at all. Two women, two remarkably similar lives, until one quietly vanished into the other. But not everyone is convinced her story is entirely real. Scholar Simcha Gross and others suggest it may have been shaped, even invented, by later generations of the Exilarch's household, the hereditary leaders of the Jewish diaspora. The reasoning is simple. If you could claim a queen of Persia as your ancestor, your authority became unquestionable. The motive for invention, they argue, was very real. But even if her story was exaggerated, even if others changed it over time, something real had to exist first. A name, a memory, a woman. Persian national memory needed a clean Zoroastrian founding story. A Jewish queen who built Isfahan's oldest neighborhood complicated that. Jewish tradition needed its heroes to be Jewish heroes, not footnotes in an empire's court. Shushandukht belonged equally to both worlds and fully to neither. So both quietly set her aside. It was not carelessness. It was a choice, a civilizational preference for walls over gates, for separate stories over shared ones. She built a neighborhood that outlasted empires. She planted communities in cities that still stand. We do not know if she lies in that tomb in Hamadan. We do not know if her story was shaped by ambitious descendants or erased by uncomfortable complexity. What we know is this: the Persian Empire and the Jewish people shared centuries of history so intertwined, so mutually shaping, that a Jewish queen beside the King of Kings is not a fantasy. It is simply an extension of everything we already know was true. Yazdegerd still stands. Susa still stands. Shushtar still stands. Someone built the foundation. Someone cared enough to plant a people in Persian soil and say, "You belong here." That was Shushandukht, a queen without a monument, a builder without a biography, a bridge between civilizations that both sides chose to forget. And this, at last, is the obituary she never received. If her story moved you, share it. History forgets the people we stop talking about. Subscribe for more stories of the women, kings, and civilizations that time chose to erase, and that we are choosing to remember.